Hello, everyone. This is Kops Office Hours. It is March 29th, 2019. I'm your moderator and facilitator, Justin Santa Barbara. I work at Google. We have an agenda. The link should be pasted in the chat. There's a couple of items on there, including a great graphic, which I think we can kick off with in a minute. But if you do want to add anything else, and some bugs, which we should talk about, if you do want to add anything else to the agenda, please do so we can get to it. And feel free to put your name at the top so that we can correlate back who you are. But Peter, you have an infographic for us.
Yeah, I decided to throw some data together to make this chart, just to see the situation that we're in right now. Looking at it, you can obviously see that the delay between the Kubernetes release and the kops stable release is growing over time, as well as the delay between the first kops alpha and kops stable. And then you can see the in yellow what it would look like if we were to release today. So I'm sure we have some ideal timeline that we want to be at, but this just gives us a good representation of where we're at now.
I don't know if we want to share it for the video so that people can see, but yeah, it is fairly clear that we are getting more laggy at releases. I don't know what happened with 1.8. I guess we released it like 3 days before, the alpha 3 days before. I was like, okay. I didn't remember doing that, but okay. And I guess we should actually get back to that sort of cadence. There we go, nice. Yeah, so a pretty, like, coming up for 6-month delay, basically looking likely on 1.12. I think 1.11 had some upstream issues where it was more deliberate, but I think 1.12 we don't have that to point to. It's just on us, and yeah, we should or on me, and we should address that. I think it makes sense. In happier news, we did release 1.12 alpha 2 and alpha 3. I didn't do alpha 1 because I messed it up this week, and so we are hopefully getting closer on the 1.12. So I think we're going to talk about some bugs on that in a minute. One of the things we could do is do the 1.13 and 1.14 alphas and betas basically at some point where it makes sense in the 1.12 release cycle. So I didn't want to do all three at exactly the same time because I think it would just get too confusing with the cherry picks. But I think if we can get 1.12 to beta, then we can do 1.13 alpha and possibly 1.14 alpha at the same time. I think that actually is reasonable. Yeah, I think that could work.
Are there any features that need to go into 1.13 and 1.14 that we don't have already?
Not to my knowledge. The big thing is 1.13 turns off etcd3. Sorry, etcd2. Shocker! Everyone has to move to etcd4. No, I'm kidding. It turns off etcd2. So that's sort of the one where we have to be really careful. And I think that's where we're finding a lot of the bugs in 1.12. But as far as I know, there's no like significant changes. There were some APIs that are being only deprecated, but I think Jordan Leggett sent some PRs to like advance all our manifests from apps v1 beta 1 to apps v1, for example. I don't think that's even landing until 1.15, 1.16. I don't remember the timeline. But yeah, I think we passed conformance, for example, with 1.14. Well, I know we passed conformance with 1.14 because we passed tests with 1.14. So yeah, there's no like significant thing. We could accelerate those and bring them down to, I guess, more where we're on the 1.7 timeline, where we have like a 1 or the 1.8 timeline for alpha, where we release alpha and beta a little before release of Kubernetes, and the 1.7 timeline where we then mark the stable release around a month after when we feel the ecosystem is actually stable. So Kubernetes and the CNI providers, and you're not going to blow up. I don't know if that makes sense to people as the target. And then we could actually release the alpha even like 3 days before is sneaking under the wire, but we could release the alpha like much earlier. Like we could release a 1.15 alpha, I mean, in theory now, but in practice, when they cut the first RC would probably make the most sense for Kubernetes.
Yeah, I love the idea of getting more in line with them. And like, you know, I think there's enough people on this call that have been around for a while and seen that, you know, we purposefully keep things back, but we can only say that so long when we're so far behind, you know? And I think it works really well to say like alpha equals RC for Kubernetes, and beta equals, you know, release. That way we're like, hey, this is just a beta on our end. We're still waiting to say it's production ready. But yeah, I think that would be a good spot to get to.
I think that's a great thing to get to. And it's actually very, I think that's great. I think it's also very, I want to say mechanical, but like clear and objective. Yeah, thank you so much for putting that graph together, Peter. That is.
How's the?
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, how's the progress on the release automation coming?
It's fairly easy to cut patch releases. The infra team is still working on creating buckets for uploads. So, and I'm part of the infra team, so I'm also working on creating buckets for uploads. So we haven't done that yet. I have not prioritized that over the past 2 weeks. I've been prioritizing getting the release out, I think. Yes, it would be great to get to that point where we can effectively just have a release that we can do with consensus. We can just cut a release without like anyone having to be in a privileged position. I don't think the first step is to make it so that we are able to release from an automatically built, from a CI build. So in other words, we tag it, and then we have a separate promotion process that someone runs to actually like push the bits to GitHub, for example. And then once we have that separation, then in theory, the infra team can like figure out where they're going to store the keys securely to do that, so that we can then automate that. But if we get that first step going, I think we're in better shape. And we've made some progress in terms of using Bazel to do our builds, for example, which will be helpful there. But yeah, I think 112 first. How about that? All right, should we talk about thank you for putting that together, Peter. Should we talk about the blockers for 112? Let's see, I know that there were 2 bugs on the agenda when last I looked. Ryan, do you want to talk us through those 2 issues?
Sure. The first one is a Terraform bug, which I think, Rodrigo, you grabbed, assigned to you. I took a look. It's the second bug in that mixed instance policy feature that got added. Mm-hmm. This one it's just not base 16 for encoding the user data when that feature is enabled. I took a look through the code base last night, and I'm struggling to find where that is failing. Mm-hmm. So, Rodrigo, if you have a clue where that is, that'd be great.
I just added the initial one, which is why I grabbed that. So.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to go through the initial PR and try to figure out where that was, but I have failed to find where that is so far.
Yeah, I'll go look today. I only saw that issue late last night, so.
But that one brings up, I think, interesting. We should probably talk about how we test some of that stuff a little bit better, from like integrations for both Terraform, CloudFormation, how we've like the first bug that got fixed was it failed with just a Terraform plan. This one is only failing at apply time, so it's it takes an actual full integration sort of test to catch that. But I think both of those are worthwhile. Like at least doing the plan part of it, which should be an easy add. And then the other bug, I was testing with Alpha 2, and it looks like I hit an etcd manager bug where when a master went away, so I had successfully upgraded the cluster, was running etcd3 with TLS. One of the masters went away. When it came back up, it refused to join, and the master was rejecting it. And it was a TLS error, and that's in the logs in that ticket. I've tested that with Alpha 3, and I haven't been able to replicate it. So I don't know if it was a fluke or if it was an edge case that I'm just not hitting in this. I thought, Justin, you probably wanted to look at that one a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to call that one out. Like I said, I haven't been able to replicate it with Alpha 3, but I didn't see anything that necessarily made me think it was fixed either.
So let's talk about the two in order. Like on the first one, we actually have a lot of testing. A lot of our testing actually uses the Terraform output and verifies that the Terraform output is sort of like the golden image testing. So we check it again, like string test it against what we expect, which checks that it hasn't changed unexpectedly and that it looks exactly as we expect it to. It doesn't check that the Terraform itself is valid.
Yeah.
Which is, so yes, we could do a plan, but as you say, it wouldn't catch non-basic C4 encoded data. So
yeah, it wouldn't catch this one, but it would have caught the first bug that I fixed. That failed on a plan, so it would get us partway there.
Yes. I probably should have caught that in code review. I normally check the fields against Terraform, and I guess I didn't this time. So I think like
it was an easy one to miss. I mean, it was overrides versus override.
Right, exactly.
Putting CloudFormation and consistency nowhere.
Yeah, the other thing we can do is, I guess, when we add a new set of Terraform outputs or targets, I guess they're called, like a new task, we should actually test it at least once manually using in that scenario. And I guess the other thing we could do is we could have an E2E test that actually uses Terraform to bring up the cluster, which I don't think we have today. That wouldn't catch everything, but it would catch whatever scenarios we tested. So it would catch catastrophic type things. Like I think, for example, there's a PR out which says the next version of Terraform has a stricter syntax around escaping or something like that. And then I guess that E2E test would be great to have there, because that's going to change all the Terraform output. I am suspicious whether Terraform can actually like break every user in existence, but that's a different question. But yeah, I think, yeah, at least I'll run a manual test on that output. I'll take a look at it as well and see, like, while I'm there, whether I can just fix it at the same time. That's for 6700. And then on the other one, a question on that, which is the etcd up or the etcd master issue. You said you upgraded. Was your previous configuration legacy or etcd manager?
It was etcd manager it was etcd manager v3, upgraded the cluster with the alpha 2, and then at some point after that, one of the masters died. When it came back up, it couldn't join the etcd cluster.
Got it. Okay. I will. Do you know previously you were running with kops 1.11, so you were running an older version of etcd manager, and we went to a newer version of etcd manager.
Yep.
Got it. There was something.
But that upgrade was successful, right? So it had successfully moved to 1.12. Alpha 2 was in quorum, and then one of the masters died. And when that master tried to come back up, it couldn't join.
Oh, so it died sort of randomly, not as part of the rolling update.
Yeah, not as part of the rolling update. Rolling update was successfully done. Yep.
Okay, I will definitely want to look at that. Thank you for bringing that one up. There is something around caching of host names, but I actually thought we'd worked around it. Like we had to like pass some extra flags. So I will definitely have a look at that. Thank you for the heads up on that.
Yep.
I don't know if anyone else is aware of any 112 blockers or potential blockers.
I have one that I'm working on a fix for that I had approved an ELB tagging thing that just wasn't going to work at all. And so if you have cluster tags, it continuously tries to apply them to the ELB. It might apply to the ELB, but then it won't ever remove ones, and it was half complete. So I have a fix. I'm just fixing the tests, but they should be done today.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you.
But I wouldn't consider it a blocker if you decided to cut it today.
Yeah, I mean, the options are, we can always revert if it's new functionality.
Yeah.
We can roll forwards and try to fix it. We could feature flag it if it if it just like sort of works but doesn't really work, like works for some people, but that's a middle ground between revert and fixing. But yeah, if you're able to fix it, that's great. Is there a issue number for that?
There's not an issue, but I have a work in progress PR open.
Okay, great. I'll look at that PR. It looks like it is 6703, right?
Yeah, it just keeps growing.
Justin, the issue with the Calico upgrade.
Yes, that was actually my fault. I thought it was something complicated. It isn't. It was as part of that apps v1 change. Oh yeah, so heads up to everyone. So we're moving from apps v1 beta 1 for deployments and stateful sets to apps v1, and there is a breaking change. The selector is required in apps v1. I had dropped the selector when I rebased, because I was also moving from upgrading Calico to CRDs, and yeah, the CRDs, the PRs crossed. I dropped the selector, and so all that was happening was the 112.0 alpha 2 Calico CRD was just invalid. So that's what was going wrong.
So have you already fixed that then and put it in?
Yes, 112.0 alpha 3 has the fix, which is sorry, I should have actually told you that in person. I don't know about on Slack, sorry. Which is 6682.
Awesome.
And
I'll test that out today then.
Cool. And I don't know if I updated the issue. Looks like I should update the issue, whatever issue that was. Okay, but I will up. Yeah.
6636. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you. Oh, and so I also fixed the other issue we found on 6636, which is if you had a legacy etcd manager using HTTPS, where you sort of opted into HTTPS, and then you tried to use, if you have a legacy etcd mode and you opted into TLS, and then you try to use etcd manager refuses to import it because it says, I don't recognize TLS. This is not the standard configuration. And it turns out it's fine. And so I just made it accept that configuration. Any other blockers that people know about or are worried about? I mean, work. And how do people feel about getting to beta? Well, it sounds like we have a round of fixes, and we should get those in. Getting to beta, and then when we do 112.0 beta, we also cut 113 alpha and 114 alpha. I think I can maintain the cherry picks on 3 branches. I have a script which I pasted in somewhere, so that other people, if anyone wants to cherry pick, feel free to steal that script. Rodrigo, actually, I think it was on one of your.
Yeah. It was the Terraform for additional CIDRs.
I don't know if we should just put that in I think with the hack directory. Well, either it's a hack or a dev hack, so we can put it in the hack directory. Yeah.
There's also one in Kubernetes. That's I actually use that.
Okay, it works.
Yeah.
Okay. That one is much bigger than the one I wrote, which I was oh, that's so complicated. But yes, but mine is much more fussy around how you name your branches and stuff. So yeah, the one in Kubernetes is probably the way to go, actually. But if anyone wants an easier one, it's floating around.
I support ease.
Exactly. Stricter, but much simpler. And okay, I don't know if do we have anything else on the? Oh, we have another. Oh no, sorry, cool. Shane, that's your the issue we just talked about. I don't know if we have anything else on the agenda that we should talk about, or whether everyone would like 40 odd minutes back.
No, I was just going to offer if either you or Rodrigo gets a chance and fixes that Terraform bug. I am waiting to test that, so we are eager for that feature. So I've got my test cluster ready to go.
Awesome.
So ping me and I'll get a run through.
Thank you.
I was going to say, it looks like last week there was someone named Jacob. If he's on the call, he posted a comment on his attendee about ARM support. I don't know if he's here. Guess not.
We can try to answer it for the video. So yeah, so he to summarize, he's like, AWS now obviously supports A1 instances, which are ARM types, ARM CPUs inside. He had a question about AMIs. Like we aren't currently building the sort of stock AMIs for ARM. And I think that's fair, but I think the other things are we aren't building our other binaries for ARM either. I don't know whether it's a top priority to build the kops CLI for ARM, for example. I'm sure it will not be too hard once everything else is done. But for the AMIs, I think I would recommend using like a stock AMI, either Amazon System Linux or Debian stock or Ubuntu or CentOS or whatever your preferred image is. And then, but we would still have to, the challenge is going to be, we have some components, some kops components that run that are not ARM enabled, and we have to build those. And honestly, I don't know how to do that. I presume there's a way to do it, but I just don't know how to like tell Basil to go and build like a multi-arch. I don't know whether we're supposed to do multi-arch or whether we're supposed to switch images based on the architecture. So yes, if anyone knows how to do multi-arch images, the things we have to build are, we do have to build node up in a different, to target ARM. That's not really a problem that we can do easily. We already build kops for different OSs, and I think it's just a similar but slightly different flag to say build for ARM or cross build to ARM. We have Protocube, which is a Docker saved image. So I'm guessing we would actually, that one might be not too hard either. That one would be built and then exported. But the other one we need like etcd manager, for example. We need the ARM version. And if there are any other changes we need to do to pull like the ARM version of Kube API server, we have to plumb those through. So I guess the next step would be to see how Kube API server, for example, does it. And we should just mirror whatever Kube API server does. Like, I don't know if anyone knows whether Kube API server has different names on ARM or whether it uses multi-arch. Okay, but that's the, so the AMIs are not too bad. You don't have to use the standard AMIs, Jacob, but the other bits are more challenging. But you can, if you wanted to contribute, it would be very welcome. You'd be very welcome to do so. You can unblock yourself on the image issue by just using like a stock Ubuntu image or a stock Debian image or whatever OS you prefer. And then you will rapidly hit some of the other issues around node up, Protocube, etcd manager, possibly Kube API server, kube controller manager, all the images.
Well, and what you were saying, Justin, probably the easiest way for them to unblock themselves is to start with just nodes running on ARM, right? So node up and Protocube would be the only dependencies for running a node, right?
That is a great point. Yeah. And those, yeah, so those aren't terrible those feel like those are easier to build. Yeah.
So happy to review PRs if anyone's passionate about getting those building.
Yes. And I'll write a comment saying like, please post a GitHub issue. And I think that's sort of the better way because please post a GitHub issue and then we can start to talk about it. I'll try to write up a summary of what we just talked about.
So quick question around the 112 release. Are we thinking that the next cut will be 112 beta if we get those two bugs fixed, or are we planning more alphas?
open to suggestions. What do people think?
I mean, I think we can I would say go to beta as long as we've actually test that one to make sure that the Terraform output actually generates correctly this time. I wouldn't want to go to beta without verifying that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it feels like we have 4 open-ish, 4 like areas. And yeah, if those 4 seem good, that also means that people are trying it. And I think it is reasonable to go to beta 1 if people think that's fine. And then doing beta 1, then that will trigger me to do beta 113 alphas and 114 alpha. Okay. Decision made.
Woohoo.
Exactly. And I don't know if anyone else has any other agenda items they would like to, or any other items they'd like to talk about. Going once, going twice. Happy Friday and happy weekend, everybody. I hope you all have a wonderful couple of weeks. See you in 2 weeks.
See ya.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.